Hello, welcome to the channel. It's your favourite Scotsman here again, and today we are going to discuss why I disagree with BMO's annual retirement study, which showed that Canadians believe you need $1.7 million to retire. And we're going to look at what you need to do instead to come up with your number. So, first off, it just isn't a realistic number for most people. The study also notes that the average amount held in RRSPs nationally is $144,613. I would hope that you don't need a financial advisor to tell you that there's a fairly sizable difference between 144 grand and 1.7 million. Secondly, there's so many factors at play. As with any retirement plan, there is no one-size-fits-all approach. Well, some of you might indeed need 1.7 million to retire comfortably. The vast majority of you will not. It all comes down to your lifestyle, retirement goals, current financial situation, and expectations for the future. So what you need for retirement is very different from what John, with his fancy Ferrari from across the road, needs for retirement. Nice car though, I can't fib on that one. All you need to do is follow our 4-step process. So, step 1. To get your number, you're going to need to know what you're going to spend on a monthly and an annual basis. This may seem straightforward to some of you, but for others, you may have no clue where to start. What we suggest is that you break your expenses down into 3 pots. The first pot should be your non-discretionary expenses. Those expenses that you probably don't like paying but must. Property tax, gas, hydro, water, groceries, and so on. I like to refer to this pot as the survival pot. These are the basic expenses you need each month for basic living. The second pot should cover monthly expenses that are nice to have but not exactly necessary for survival and could be cut back on if need be. Things like gym memberships, takeout food, clothing, cable, streaming services, you get the picture. Lastly, the third pot should be for entertainment and travel. Meals out, sports tickets, vacations, etc. Again, this pot could be cut back on if need be. Unless, of course, you're John with his fancy Ferrari from across the street. You can reach your hand into the latter 2 cookie jars, but it's important that the first one stays as full as can be. Alright, so now you've got a handle on expenses, you should know how much money you spend right now. Then think about what those expenses are going to be in retirement. With a bit of luck, your children will have moved out, be close to doing so. Your mortgage may have been paid off. You may no longer need 2 cars, and strangely enough, you won't have to save for retirement. Once you've gone through this process, you should have an idea of what you anticipate spending on a monthly and a yearly basis. That gets the difficult part out the way with, and we can move on to step 2. Now we can start to think about income, and what better place to start than government pensions. Assuming you've been contributing to the maximum or close to it in CPP over the years, CPP and OAS can get you the best part of $20,000 a year in income, or $40,000 for you and your spouse. Many people dismiss government pensions, but they add up and they give you some breathing room if something goes sideways. Other sources of income to consider, rental properties, employer's pension. Another thing to factor in is your employer's pension indexed for inflation? If you're sitting in a big fat defined benefit pension, then you might need precisely $0 to retire, never mind 1.7 million. For the record, I wouldn't recommend that you retire with $0. You always need at least something in the case of emergencies. In any case, it's time to tally all of this up along with your government pensions. Now, what you need to do is subtract the government pensions and the other sources of income from your annual income that you calculated from your retirement budget. In most instances, whatever is left is the dollar amount that you need to come up with each year to retire in Canada. That's step 2 out the way with. Step 3. At this point, word of caution. This is where things get a little tricky, and all biases aside, I would strongly recommend that you work with a wealth advisor to go through this process. Alright, here comes salesy Sam trying to sell me his services. Nah, seriously, what I'm giving you here is the very short version of any retirement plan. As an example, things like how to assign a future value to your non-index workplace pension are not included in this video. That being said though, I am providing you with a retirement calculator from our website, which is included below free of charge. And I mean free of charge. There's no names, telephone numbers or credit card info needed to access this calculator, so rest assured our team won't be calling you in the dead of night. The calculator will give you all the tools you need to do a basic calculation. You'll need a few things on hand: your total portfolio size, your current annual savings, number of years to retirement, an assumption on how long you'll live, an assumed inflation rate, and an assumed annual portfolio return. For inflation, I mean, obviously right now you can't walk out the grocery store without dropping an obscene amount of money and coming out with nothing more than a block of cheese and a packet of chips. But over the long run, we do believe somewhere in the range of 2 to 3% is a decent area to aim for. If you're unsure, why not try out a few different inflation rate scenarios and put one at 2 to 3%, another at 4 to 5%, and if you're really spontaneous, throw one in at 5.1%. It's impossible to tell exactly where the arrow is going to land, so having a few reference points just doesn't hurt. For your annual portfolio return, unless you're invested very aggressively, which brings about its own set of risks that we're not going to go into today, anywhere from 4 to 6%, depending on your appetite for risk, is not unreasonable. Personally, I prefer to err on the side of caution, and I would recommend not going any higher than 5%. In terms of how long you'll live for, again, I always prefer to be cautious, and that's why we always go with a standard age of 95 in all our plans. You know yourself and your family history better than anyone though. By cautious, we simply mean plan for the longest life. Once you've plugged all that in, you should have a ballpark estimate of how much you need to retire in Canada. Hold on, no, not so fast. We forgot about step 4, taxes. This is where working with a professional, again, can be helpful, as the tax system can just be a tad confusing, how different types of income are taxed. You may also want to make sure that you're optimising, income splitting opportunities where they're available. I've provided a link to taxtips.ca, which outlines the tax rates in Ontario and for the rest of Canada for anybody watching outside of the province. I've also included a link to ey.com, which will allow you to estimate your annual taxes. Now, head back over to that calculator and make sure you include those figures as well. So there you have it. Congratulations, you have completed the 4-step process, and now hopefully you have a better idea of what it is you need to retire in Canada, as opposed to worrying about hitting this magical 1.7 million number that may not even be attainable. Every few years there seems to be a new romanticised financial goalpost that will guarantee a happy, stable retirement, but the truth is, it's almost impossible to create a one-size-fits-all approach for retirement. Knowing where you stand today and where you want to be tomorrow is the most important factor. Everyone is different. You've all got your own unique needs. That's it for today, folks. If you liked the video and felt it provided you a bit of value there, then do consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons before you go. We'll see you next time.